0, 1.
Let's get started.
Then we got our second target right there. And now it's just a matter of are we going to get our last target? So there is hello and welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, yet again, I'm giving you all the secret knowledge you'll need to be able to day trade the S&P 500 for tomorrow's market session on October the 10th, okay? So definitely feel free to watch the whole video at the end where you can see a replay from a trade that I took this week. And without further ado, everyone, let's go ahead and get started with today's video, okay? So with that being said, we're going to start off on the cash market chart and then finish things off on futures. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cash chart, And ultimately, you can see we are still stuck primarily in this range, okay? Now from this range, again, we are looking for the rotation that we mentioned in yesterday's video. And from this standpoint and from this perspective, I guess you could say, we are more or less expecting the market to rotate through this range coming back down to the low. So with that characteristic in mind, at this point, we really don't have to change too much because we made yesterday's video pretty well. The first variation is going to be something very much so like this, in which we are looking for a continuation to go down to this level. So if I draw it a bit more appropriate, given our current new information, I would assume it would be something in situation like this, in which we continue to go down. We may even get some sort of like move like this, before ultimately hitting into the low, which is going to be somewhere right around 668, okay? Now from that perspective, again, more or less to a T, we are looking for this variation in which we're going to rise back up and then rotate all the way back up to the prior high, in which situates itself somewhere right around that 673, okay? So just be aware that that's kind of the primary goal that I'm thinking is going to happen in tomorrow's session. So next up, if we do kind of cascade and fall even lower, then again, it's just like yesterday's video, in which we would assume now that momentum has changed, and instead of looking to buy, we're now looking to appropriately now sell, okay? So look for this variation. If we do kind of collapse in tomorrow's session, let's just say we gap down for whatever reason, you now know what to do. Now, with that being said, inversely, we are at the high of a range, but that doesn't mean that we can't retest the prior high. So I would recommend personally, if we do end up going up higher, is maybe a trade in which you just want to leave alone, because it would have to be something like this. And then once we get to this high, we are either going to reject again or we're going to break out. Okay, now if we break out, that could be an opportunity for you to actually trade this thing, in which you'll notice that we will have some sort of variation that's obvious in which we're breaking out, and then we can look to buy pullbacks, okay? So ideally, like I said, again, if you're looking to buy, look for the breakout. I think that would be a whole hell of a lot easier than trying to justify any sort of move before that. But again, we will have to look at the market tomorrow to see if we can actually ride this thing to the upside, because traditionally you want to get in off of this low. So just make sure you don't buy too high, okay? So there's going to be some really good pathways you need to be aware of for tomorrow. Again, traditionally, I am expecting this red to green scenario, but you never know. We could pop up and continue in this little pink line. Ideally, if we go up, I'd really like to see this green case scenario play out, which we can buy the dips. And again, if we collapse, we kind of now know what to do as well. All right. So with that being said, everyone, really briefly, we need to talk news for tomorrow before we go over to the futures chart, okay? Now, with all the news going on, we just need to see exactly what's going on for tomorrow, which is Friday. And for Friday specifically, we have consumer sentiment as well as inflation expectations at 10. And then we have non-farm Friday, which is going to probably be somewhere right around 8:30, okay? So that being said, tomorrow is a really, really big, heavy news-driven day. So just be aware if you're trading early on that you probably want to sit things out until right around, let's just say 9 o'clock-ish, maybe 8:45. And then the consumer sentiment report is going to be something you need to be aware of as well. So give that about 10 minutes before and at least like 3 to 5 minutes after. All right. So that being said, we now know how to pivot around the news events. Let's finish the video off talking about the futures chart. Okay. Now, with the futures chart here, we can clearly see that we have a range that was looking to be in the formation of happening. We're actually expecting the rotation to go back up off of this pivot, but we actually ended up collapsing and rotating and going down lower, okay? Now, in the futures chart, I really like this pretty clean move that's happening. As you can see, I already have the channel set up, and it could arguably be just a little bit tighter like so, but we will have to adjust this potentially tomorrow, okay? But for right now, I'm just going to leave it just like this so we can kind of get the idea of what's happening here. We have this relatively big move down, okay? It's no surprise. This is a big move down, and instead of kind of catching itself, essentially it just continued to go lower, okay? Making potentially what is a low and then definitely a low here. So from this vantage point, we are simply expecting this thing to basically rotate back up and then find a collapse off of that level to come back down to retest these lows, okay? So let's kind of get off of this. We're either looking at that like I just mentioned in that scenario. Let me redraw it real fast. Or as I am like talking this out with you all right now, it almost also looks like a bigger range, okay? Now this is going to be a range. I say that because I would have liked to have seen this make a lower low here, just to make things perfect. But we didn't. It seems as though we didn't make a lower low. So we have to be aware that this could be potentially a range. So this is going to be a range. Most likely it's going to be right here. And then we can just kind of do a couple of these. It's going to be very similar, okay, even if it is a range, but I do just want to have that in the back of your mind just in case, you know, something else kind of happens. So we got that there and this right here, okay? Give us a little bit of structure. So this structure now that we have, if it's a range, that's fine. If it's a bigger move that's kind of rotating lower, that's also fine. Essentially, what we're still looking for on both regards is a rejection off of this level, okay? Because now we can extrapolate the distance underneath to be the projection now that we're expecting to be above, which is oddly enough pretty close to being the exact same, okay? So don't be too surprised, essentially, if we push up just like here and then rotate back down to the low. Now, if we're in a range, then we'll probably kind of hover into this zone as we kind of maneuver and barcode to the right. However, if we do end up, again, like I said before, barcoding into a range to the right. However, like we mentioned on the cash market chart, if we do fall down, that is like pretty obvious breakthrough, then we can just continue to look for shorts as the market continues to fall down to whatever level it wants to find before it finds support, okay? So just be aware that these are like the three traditional paths that I'm looking for tomorrow's session, at least here on the futures chart, okay? Now, if we do break out, excuse me, it should be pretty obvious because now we can look at this in terms of a range. We have a prior high over here that I'll show you in just a second. This prior high right here, okay? So that would be what we're targeting if we do continue to break out immediately to go directly higher. So just be aware that, again, this is kind of like the last, I wouldn't say least likely, but this is the one that I guess I'm expecting the least, so maybe it is least likely. But usually when I say stuff like that, it tends to be the opposite. So just because I'm not expecting it doesn't mean that it won't happen, okay? So just be aware that these are like the four primary variations that I'm looking for. I'm expecting the red and then into green. If we get out any other extremes, we'll just play it accordingly, okay? So with that being said, everyone, thank you for staying tuned through the whole video. At the very, very end of all the stuff you'll see in a second will be a replay of a trade I think I took on this Monday. We've been doing really, very, very well, just like every other week, within about an 80% accuracy overall. So if you do want to join the live streams and or just the sessions in general, then look down below for the Discourse Size Patreon links. Give it a look, and then make sure you go through the catalog that I've started on the live stream, so you can kind of go back and replay some of those streams. They are muted and delayed, just to kind of give myself a little bit of security with my setups and trades, so you don't just copy it verbatim. But nonetheless, it is there for transparency, so you can see how credible I am. So that being said, everyone, again, hopefully you all did great today, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow morning, either in the live stream here on YouTube at 9:30 or on the Discourse Size Patreon at 8:45, okay? So again, thank you for joining, and I will see you all on the next candle.
That's it for today's breakdown. Just a reminder, I trade full-time, and I only focus on the S&P 500. My strategy works across the board, but the SP 500 is where I live every single day. I stream live every morning starting at 9:20 with a free pre-market prep at 9 o'clock right here on YouTube. Then at 6 p.m., I'm back on for the daily review and game plan for tomorrow, plus I cover tickers you guys request using the exact same system. So if you want to stay consistent, hit subscribe, drop your stock in the comments, and come hang out with me live. Links for the Discord and Patreon are below if you want my full daily levels and plans. See you in the next one.
All right, everyone. So this is going to be the trade of the week, or the trade that I will show you for the week, and it happened today on October the 6th, okay? So let me get my big face out of the way so you can see the chart here. All right, so what we have here overall was kind of a unique situation because we were expecting a whole bunch of different things, and ultimately what we ended up getting was a potential range rotation as well as just a continuation off of the bigger move, okay? So that being said, the low of this was kind of a unique entry, okay? This is a Gore pattern to the T. And with this, you can see it's more of a cascading, rising, higher high, and which gives us a nice entry off the base of this channel, okay? Now, that being said, the entry was a bit robust and big, leaving me to not be able to enter in ideally above the candle. So I ended up having to actually place my entry underneath based on the correct entry level, okay? That's what you're basically seeing right now. So with that being said, as soon as market action pulled back some, I do believe we entered in right here, yes. So with us entering in right here, now we're going to use our volatility-based algo that you will get as a Tier 3 member. And this will basically allow you to understand where to put your stop loss based on the day's volatility. So with that being said, as I adjust this, I'm going to fast forward just a bit so this doesn't take all day. But as you can see, we have our stop loss now there at the lows, which is equal to our stop loss at the highs coincidentally. And then we use other levels objectively above to get our second and third targets, okay? As you can see here, after we did pull back and kind of danced around a bit, we ultimately ended up, if I continue to fast forward this, you can see in just a second, we did get our first target, and we did get our second target right here. Oh, excuse me, right in a second. We did move our stop loss up because we got our first target. Sorry about that. Then we got our second target right there. And now it's just a matter of are we going to get our last target? So there is a rhyme and reason to how we kind of trail, just so you know. But in this instance, as you can see, as we steady started to creep up dramatically closer to our target, we essentially maintained our stop loss closer as well. So as it continued to push up, we continue to push up as well. There is a trade secret for this, so don't fret. When you do become a member, you'll learn this. But in general, it just allows us to stay in as best we can, okay? So as you can see, our target was up there. We adjusted accordingly, and we did end up getting stopped out before the target high, although I did adjust the target high just a bit. So we ended up getting pretty much all the move, okay? So that being said, everyone, this was the trade of the week that you'll be seeing pretty much in all the videos for today or for this week. And if you don't want to miss opportunities just like this, then simply look down below for the description so you can get access to the Discord/Patreon, okay? Thanks for watching. See you on the next candle.